Hello and welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol, and I just realized I forgot to put my earbuds in. I forgot to plug my microphone in yesterday. People could still hear me on my computer mic, but I just don't think it sounds as nice. But that's me. And I have in the studio here with me Ben and Kira. Hi. How are you guys doing? How'd you do on the test?
I passed it.
You passed it. Yes.
I passed it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for asking. I
Good.
feel so relieved.
It was amazing. I knew you'd pass. I knew you'd pass.
I wasn't sure. It was actually a lot more challenging than I thought. It got my nerves all kinds of jacked up, and at the end of it, my palms were sweating. You know, when I finished an hour early. I still had 60 minutes of time left, and I was like, should I go back through the questions and check them? But yeah, exactly, Rebecca, you're shaking your head no. And I remember learning that a while back, that once you start going back and changing answers, your score statistically decreases. So I didn't do it, and I just pressed the button.
If you don't know the answer, sometimes your gut can help you.
Mm-hmm.
You go with your first initial instinct. So that seemed to help me on community college. Hello, Rebecca. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Hey, Shannon Smith. And I saw Krista Melinda in here a little bit ago. Hello, if you're still here. So I don't know. For some reason, I was kind of had this question in my mind. So you want to quit drinking or doing some addictive behavior? What now?
I'm still, my brain is still mush from balloon with toy attached.
You have a little kitty in your pocket right there.
It's a dog.
Oh, it's a
dog. It's my therapy.
Your emotional support animal.
Yeah, the balloon with toy attached. Yes, trying to argue that as an argument about the whole Roswell thing. That was the official balloon with a toy attached. That was the official explanation. That I was left with trying to counter with a conversation I had with Christy earlier on Roswell on her podcast, and I was going to try to take the government line. It's like, aha, but here's the official government explanation, and that's all they gave me. It's balloon with toy attached, and it's like, no, this doesn't work.
Oh. Well, I know they declassified supposedly a lot of stuff, a lot of redactions though from that.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject, really, when you get digging into the psychology of it and everything. But balloon with toy attached. That doesn't explain. There's a gazillion things that doesn't explain, and it contradicts an earlier statement that no, we had a balloon with anthropomorphic dummies on it. It's like, okay, stick them on the balloon with toy attached, but no, they just kind of forgot about that part, and it's like, how am I supposed to defend this argument?
Yes, they didn't seem to care at the time, and they didn't think people would think enough to look into it.
They would do it just to hurt my feelings.
That's it.
It sure
is. That's it. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. Bad old mean old government.
But it's okay now. But okay, so what now, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
I was going to say, in my attempt to not buy all the fabric, I have an intention set to continue to use what I've got. Yeah. And so it's kind of in this constant, phrasing it as from a place of abundance. I've got lots of fabric to choose from. I can, plan something with what I've got. So creating, I don't know, part of it, I think kind of is like setting the intention, and then you have to do it every single day.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it is, yeah, I want to buy all the fabric.
Hi, Crafty Witch. Good to see you from over at the Lifeboat. Yeah, so it is really and truly one day at a time, and it's one day at a time that got me to 30 years in drinking, and a few months in spending, and
I was wondering about something with the drinking. That's a thing that's used in AA quite often. You count days. Why? I mean, is it to give you something to look back on that you say, okay, I've handled it this long. This is precious to me. This is a reason why I don't drink, is I don't want to undo all that. Is it a point of
that
pride?
is a very good question. I mean, every day can be a nail biter when you're
Okay.
trying to leave off an addiction.
Mm.
And every day you get behind you is a victory.
Mm.
I woke up this morning, didn't drink or do the behavior or use yesterday. Sure, maybe I can do it again today.
Mm.
And then I do whatever, I take whatever steps I need to not drink for today, whether that's go to a meeting or reach out to, somebody who also has some recovery,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
occupy my mind with, something else that's healthy, like maybe a creative endeavor or exercise
Mm.
or,
I found in my case, I was trying to talk to somebody who has been off alcohol now 21 days. I won't mention their name, but I found I was keeping track of his days and he wasn't. And I just and he
oh,
asked me, why would I? And it's like, okay, I don't know what to say to that, and I thought, well,
okay.
is it something that, and I found myself questioning, well, if he doesn't want to, I mean, that's fine. But I mean, is there some kind of embedded property of that gives you a sense of pride or something?
My perspective is that there is a sense of pride for me anyways. This is just my perspective. I think there is a sense of pride, a sense of achievement, getting to 30 days, getting to 60 days, getting to 90 days.
Right.
And also we know that biologically things happen in our brains, in our nervous systems around milestones like that. It can be
That's
very
true.
challenging sometimes around the 30-day mark, or like I remember the
Mm.
60-day mark for me, I thought I should be so happy and accomplished, and I was a train wreck. I was a basket case on day 60, and someone told me that it was normal, that things tend to get a little challenging when milestones come around. And so even when I came around to my 3-year birthday or anniversary or whatever you want to call it, about a month leading up to that, I started struggling a little bit. And I had a friend of mine point out that your 3-year birthday is coming up, and it's really normal for things to get tough around that time. So I don't know why that is, but I think there's value in counting time, just me personally, because it helps me bring awareness around when things kind of get a little wonky in my brain, and it's comforting to me to know that, all right, I'm approaching a milestone. Maybe that has something to do with what I'm feeling right now. But I do think there's also a sense of accomplishment with, now I'm working on year 4. Like, it's a goal that I have to get to 4 years. And I know that I'll feel really proud of myself when doing it. I also don't want to lose that time. So I think there's like a motivation aspect of it too, where it's like, well, I could go out and like have a drink, at that fundraiser that I ditched the other night. So I didn't go to this fundraiser the other night because they were going to be a bunch of well-to-do people who are normal drinkers and who were going to be having a great time just having one glass of wine or a drink. And I was just like, that to me would be more difficult to watch than people getting hammered and making fools of themselves, because I think I would be tempted afterwards to be like, well, maybe I can drink that way.
Right.
So I think having the time behind me, the 3 years, is motivation for me to not have that one drink, because I don't want to have to, not that I would lose all the time that I acquired. Like, it's still 3 years, but I just want it to be continuous.
Sure.
Okay. There are certain, go ahead.
I was going to say, can I ask why the anniversary is so hard? Because is it part of it because you normally would celebrate that with maybe a drink in the past, or what makes the kind of those anniversaries so hard like this, or like 60 days?
I don't know. It's a really good question. And sometimes I have no qualms. Sometimes it's not a big deal, but it seems like subconsciously, without my awareness, something is triggered. And I did used to celebrate with getting loaded. It was par for the course. Any excuse really, but especially celebrations. Right. So I don't have a good answer to that question as to why. It's a good question.
And I know why I don't adapt to it, or why I don't get it, because in my case, I was never addicted to alcohol, but my battle with codependency really started in April 20th, 2003, but it wasn't anything you give up immediately. It's something you just start to battle. So there's no real, and it's something I'll probably battle until the day I die. So there's no real date of today I do X, whereas I used to do Y.
Yeah, behaviors are a little trickier. In that way. Another aspect of, counting the days is that, there are certain junctures in a person's life that are life defining. There's the person I was before I gave birth to my son. And then there was the person I was after, and those are different people, and those are different lives completely, and so for me, it's helpful to know, it's helpful for me to go back to that date as a reference point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I can kind of understand a little bit of it, in that I heard somebody mention, I don't know if it was online or I think it was in person at an AA meeting, or one of my friends who gave up alcohol, where he had talked about the need to reclaim music. This is the first time I've listened to this particular song since I gave up alcohol. And I get that part, because I would attach it to friends that I've known who are now gone, and I would find myself, this is the first time I've heard this song since I was with my friend. That kind of thing, but that wears off fairly quickly. But okay, thank you for that. I was really wondering about how that worked.
Yeah.
And there she is.
Hey,
here I is.
Balloon with boy attached.
I was gonna say I broke Ben. I had on my channel. He's like, balloon with dummies attached, and I'm like, oh god, I broke my friend. We were talking about Roswell and conspiracy theories. It was a very fun conversation, but you can tell Ben's like, oh.
Carl, this is amazing. Jonathan is able to sit up and stand for a moment, but then gets dizzy. He has to move. He has to have his body brace on, though, to sit up and to stand and walk. Pain levels are going down too. By the way, hello, Matrix Rabbit and Shell and Shannon and Crafty Witch and Ellie J. Hi, you guys. Welcome. And sorry, it's taking me so long to get to that.
At some point, and I'll have to go about 5 o'clock. But I have a question about something that's going on outside of my, like in my life, that I would like some opinion on maybe why I am responding and unsure. But that's completely separate topic. So I'd like to ask.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Unless
Unless we want to have Christy weigh in, why an anniversary to mark quitting an addictive behavior, whether it's a substance or a behavior or a...
Like, why is it important? Why should we celebrate it?
Why do people count time, I guess?
Yeah.
Like, what's the value in counting time in terms of recovery?
For me, it's that I have done good for that amount of time. Like, it gives me confidence to know that I can overcome something in my life that was so detrimental to me, and to just kind of gauge, I don't know, like past a year maybe that I would count, but that's just me personally. But I think to know that, you know what, I did this, I worked really hard and I overcame this, and this is where I am. I think too, there can become a point where that number becomes irrelevant in your life. If you're a long time into it, maybe those years don't matter. But I think in the first, I think it's a point of celebration of yourself.
I think it matters every bit as much. 30 years in, it's still important.
Yeah.
It's still an important day, and it's helped for me to have a reference point of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and what was going on around me at that time. I can go back to that and remember what it's like to be that person in recovery.
And for me, because of what mine is, I can really slip down a rabbit hole pretty quick if I think on it too much. That's just how I'm wired. So, there's time before, my last relapse where people would be like, how long had it been? And I'd really have to think about it. But I think it's important to celebrate your victories and that you've overcame it, because, part of addiction for me, and again, I'm just speaking for me, is that was a point in my life that I had no control, and I was grabbing at everything I could to control it. And then when I'm beyond it, I've got that control, and I've learned how to do that, and I've grown as a person. Is my answer. I don't know that that's the correct answer, but
there's no wrong answer.
For me, for me, I do tend to kind of like lose that date after a little while, but that's just me. But I would think that that's that for me, if that's helpful to anybody.
Right on. Rebecca, what's happening?
Hard?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is it sometimes hard though to reach an anniversary for you, where it's the anniversary is good because you've achieved this, but then feelings of sadness or being down?
There's mixed feelings, big time. There's still that part of me that kind of, the first time I realized, when I was being encouraged to look at it as one day at a time, but before I was able to do that, I was having to grapple with, I can never drink again. Never smoke a joint again, and I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah, that was a lot for my brain to take too, Carol. I was like, what? Never again? Say it ain't so. Like, it's too much.
Oh yeah, the feelings around using, but so there's the sense of accomplishment, but also that revisiting what that was like.
And maybe grieving that you can't do it again.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that's how it is.
I mean, I loved it. I loved, my life.
For me,
Even though
For
it was
me, I'm
destructive and I was homeless, and I still there was so much that I loved about it.
Mhm.
It helped me not be socially awkward. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, for me, I come from a different place because of the situation I was in and what it was. Mine's a big piss off. Like, I look at that and I'm like, you thought you could. And so I don't have any grieving feelings over it necessarily. But again, mine is different than just the behavior and how I see it is a little bit. My experience in my head is a little different. And I think that's kind of why I let that anniversary drop off, is because I'm like, you know what? I'm so over you. Like, I don't need any part of it, because so much of when I was in full-blown addiction and at my worst was tied to who I was married to at the time. I mean, yes, it was my behaviors and my actions and my things. But I was not being helped. I was not being supported. I was not being cared for. And that care looked very different. So for me, when I remember that, I remember the bad part, because there was a little bit of good in there, but not really. So I just choose to be like, you know what? I walked out on your sorry little butt for a reason, and I'm sorry, you don't get to live in my head. So I'm really crotchety about it, I guess. so I don't have that tie of, I can never do this again. It for me is, thank God I survived. Alexa, stop.
Trying to get this comment up from Ellie J. For me, quitting cigs, I miss it still, but can't face quitting again. You know what? I relate to that so much, Ellie J, but I'm trying to get my ducks in a row to deal with my addiction, to deal with addiction to food, trying to get healthy and find myself again. Mm-hmm. Right on. I think that played into my not relapsing, is that it was so daunting to quit the first time. Mm-hmm. What kind of hole was I going to be digging if I went back to it, and how hard was it going to be to dig out of it, as hard as it was to dig out the first time. I dug out fair and square. I don't want to do this again. This sucked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
The sticky up hair guy from Ancient Aliens. I love him. I don't know his actual name. I just call him the sticky up hair guy.
I don't know it either, but I recognize him every time I see him. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
You're like, it's
that dude. I like your name too.
Yeah.
You know what? In terms of what we were just talking about, if I started going back, like if I did go back to using and drinking, I don't think I would actually be able to stop again. I think I would feel so guilty about it, and just like I would need it to self-medicate again, and I don't know if I would be able to stop. So there's a little bit of fear driving me to stay on this side of the street too, I think.
I understand that there was a whole lot of fear, because I was afraid that I wouldn't live through the next one. Mm-hmm. Right. I felt how close to death's doors I came. Right. And there's a lot of things, well, not a lot, but there's a few things that I've never tried, like the really, like H, for example. That's not a route that I ever went down. And I wondered to myself, if I did start using again, would I go down that road, just because I've never been there before and I'm a curious person? And that's terrifying to me. Yeah.
Right. Well, my dad used to always say, a little bit of fear is healthy. A little bit of fear of what could happen can keep you from making, really unhealthy choices. And I always thought that was interesting, because we always look at fear as being, let me rephrase that. I always looked at fear as being really unhealthy. And to have it kind of reframed in that way of, no, you know what? It's good to have a little, I think can be a healthy thing. And going back to what Ellie J said about food addiction, it's very difficult, Ellie, to struggle with that. Guys, I'm sorry, my allergies are kicking up here. It's very difficult to struggle with that because
you have to eat to live.
Yeah, and
it is socially acceptable, like you say.
Yeah, and there's such an amount of, for me personally, hiding. There's such, and for me, when I didn't eat, people were like, "Oh, you're so skinny," and then I got too skinny, and of course, people weren't saying that to me, but there is a point where it's difficult, and I would think it would be like an alcohol addiction where it is socially acceptable. You kind of get looked at sideways if you go out and everybody's having a drink and you're not. So I think that there's a lot when it comes to that type of thing that is very difficult to manage in our own minds, and it's just the way maybe the particular society sees it. It's very difficult. It really is.
Black Cat, that is a necessary part of recovery, is being able to determine for oneself whether or not the temptation is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it an important enough event for me to risk it?
Mm-hmm.
Risk being around it, risk being around the triggers, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think if you can't sort that out for yourself in some way, then, you might end up on the unhealthy side of fear, and you might end up isolated, and you might end up, in a different thing. So, I think it's tricky. I think everybody's recovery looks, is like special to them. But I do think, there's something too that's positive about going out. I mean, I get proud of myself when I go to a barbecue and I actually eat the food, and I have a plate of food and I eat it. I get proud of myself. So for me, it's that I can do this. Again, I understand we're talking about eating versus drinking, but just knowing that I can navigate that social situation is important to me, because otherwise I might not go. I might not go out to eat, or I might not go to that family barbecue.
I actually get that part. I used to participate in a show, and it's a show that Christy would love. They would talk about paranormal things, and it was kind of all in good fun. And what they would do is they would read stories, and these stories had some very difficult words in them. And every time somebody would mispronounce a word, everybody would take a drink. And it was really fun, and it was really interesting. And they talked about stuff, a lot of it was, everything's on the table. I mean, no matter how ludicrous, which made it even funnier. The problem is that because of that, I'm not an alcoholic, but I find I can't participate in that show anymore because it's a temptation for me. And, because I'd like to participate in it, and without it. So I do kind of get that part.
It's very insightful of you, Ben. I think you got a lot of self-awareness going on there. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I had some shirts that said stuff about wine, or I was invited to film an intro, and the tagline is "It's 5 o'clock somewhere," and I turned it down. I was like, no, you know what? I'm not going to do that, because I have friends that struggle with this, and by me saying that or wearing that shirt, it's like I'm saying that's okay, and I'm not gonna participate in that. So I think it can go the other way too, where people can inspire understanding. You might not have that same addiction, but you can inspire understanding of that, and you can inspire awareness, and you guys have done that for me, of hey, like maybe that's not the best thing to say, and so I think it can go that way too. I just wanted to share that. You guys have all inspired me in that way, and I turned it down. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Thank you for asking, but no.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm going to sort of make sure I specify. Nobody here told me I could not drink. I'm not
Right.
I'm not an alcoholic, but it was something where I felt like I have really good people that I'm friends with, and they struggle with this, and it just kind of felt weird,
Wrong.
It's like
Almost.
promoting something that's harming your friend, harming your friends.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to what Ellie J was saying about how her eating is a form of self-harm. That's exactly how I think about what I'm doing. It's a form of very slow self-harm. And actually, that's one of the things that I struggled with when I got told I had emphysema. My first thought was, first thing that I did was went and looked on assisted dying to see what the rules were for emphysema. So, and that was, and I don't think I would have thought of that if I wasn't going through everything that I'm going through right now. It would have been instead of it being like a, shorten my life sentence, it's like a shorten my life wish that I've gotten somehow. So that's why my feelings were so weird about the whole thing, is that now there is a bit of a limit, where before there was no time limit, and now I have one, and I'm happy about it. So I understand that sort of stuff, and I'm working on it with my counselor, but it's taken a long time to realize that's actually what I'm 100% doing. It's self-harm. Because, I guess addiction in some way is all self-harm, but it's probably not intentional. But yeah, it's just a very slow way of hurting yourself, and until we can figure out why we want to do that, I think it's really hard to stop whatever behaviors is, stemming from that. And so that's what I'm really working on, real super hard with my therapist. And oh my gosh, is he earning his money? It was just, but to see other people say it too, it's just like, it makes me feel a little bit better that I'm not. It makes me feel better about my thinking that it's not just me type thing.
Right on. Oh yeah. Because anything that's isolating is a potentially unhealthy road.
And I know that's one of the points that my old boss, Chase Hughes, used to always talk about, was that people who are successful, not necessarily rich, but people who are successful, they have an ability to put long-term health over short-term enjoyment. And that is also a key issue with me and drinking, because the next morning, even if I don't get drunk, next morning I always feel like crap. And then, of course, liver, which I have liver issues I'm trying to get through. It's not very good for that either. And, and I'm surrounded right now by people who, really great people that have issues with that. And I know I don't want that. And, I may get through it, and I'm not an addict, but because they battled this demon so much, I feel like I'm tainting a little bit, And I know they would both. I know all these people here. They would all say, "Oh no, if you're a normie, it's fine." But no, I don't. These people here I'm surrounded with are all good people.
I was going to say, I can relate to the eating, like consuming food being kind of a socially acceptable way to harm yourself.
And I can too. I can see it.
I was just thinking, a good example for this week is I went to Taco Bell. Taco Bell is not good Mexican. It's not good for me. it's not part of my goal to improve my health, but it's socially acceptable for me to go through the drive-through and have like 1,000 calories. I don't need that. And I think it's so easy. I've got family. Like for me, I need to eat healthy. I need to have protein and veg especially, and I need to kind of avoid, for the most part, carbs, and definitely avoid sugar. Sugar is a slope for me that I go down and then I like binge on it. I want all the stuff, all the junk food and candy. And I think you guys are great for this, because it's one of those things that if you go out to eat with someone, just being supportive of the food choices, as long as they're eating and there's a relatively, I mean, because if I'm going, I'm going to skip the bun. I'll have the salad. So it's not like I'm not eating things that are good for me. And I kind of wish, because my chosen family doesn't get the sugar thing, but sugar is bad for me. And it's not something that I can handle and be good with.
Right on.
But they don't get that. And they don't get the whole thing that I've got with carbs, because I don't feel as good. And granted, I will do white rice. If I get really sick, the only thing that I can eat is white rice generally. But that is the extent of the carb that I can kind of consume without problems. Otherwise, bread doesn't work. Pasta, I feel ill after them. And I'm not celiac. It's just I don't feel good. And people don't understand, and it just kind of feels like it's not socially acceptable to make different choices. So I feel, in essence, pressured to eat a specific way, even though it isn't good for me. And it is. It's socially acceptable to have this much grain and etc. But
I suffer from the same thing. I had to give up sugar a long time ago, and I'm having to do the no carb thing. And it's, and in my case, it's actually tracked to a DNA mutation I have. I don't know how I got it. I don't know when I got it. I used to carb load and run, no problem. For whatever reason, I can't. And it's not the end of the world, but that is something that is hard to do because of that. What was the term? Phatic, as the custom is. When you're with people, it's kind of one of these things that you like, no. But, and I'm glad that today's society gives you choices, and then you can say, oh, I want the burger without the bun. And like you said, the salad, I do that to death. But
I want to say too, I'm not sure who said it. Was it maybe Ellie J? And I'm sorry if I got it wrong. Talking about not understanding why you're loved. I kind of struggled with that a little bit after my divorce from my first husband. And I just want to tell you my take on it is I don't get to choose how people feel about me. I just know I'm really thankful that I'm loved. And they love me for a reason, and you can't always, I can't explain to you why I love everybody on this screen. I love them for so many different reasons. But I want to encourage you to maybe try not to get hung up on why they love you, but just the fact that they do love you and you are worthy of their love. Because if we try to understand other people's emotions, it's going to drive us nuts, because we don't have the same emotions. I mean, you can have two people who think alike and act alike and have the same astrological, sign, but they're still not going to do it the same. So I want to encourage you to look and give yourself some self-compassion, and just know that you are loved, and that is way more important than why. You are loved. And I just wanted to say that because that kind of touched me,
Yeah. Rebecca, what did you want to get some input on?
Yeah.
Well, I'm struggling with the whole thing with my landlady, my deposit, and making a choice. And I've set deadline for myself that by the end of this weekend, instead of like any more of this time kind of going back and forth between what am I going to do, I need to make a decision. And
Okay.
I think the hardest part, because we're talking if I got awarded the kind of the penalties because it wasn't done, we're looking at a little over $1,100. That would be a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I could walk away, because really I could walk away from that. I'm not going to be homeless if I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm struggling with this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to take her to small claims court. This is not something that I really would enjoy doing.
Right.
But if I feel like if I don't do it, that I'm letting her walk all over me, and I'm letting somebody walk all over me again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the story of my life. Letting people take advantage, and I've given people money that they didn't pay it back, or get loan stuff out, didn't get it back. It just kind of feels like my entire life has been this, where I wasn't important enough to fight for.
Okay.
And because I wasn't important to fight for, I didn't fight for myself either.
Right.
And part of me is struggling with, that's a lot of money, and yes, I could walk away from it. And I don't know, if she threatened to come after me for another $2,700. She has no case.
Right.
But she threatened that and could still do it. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. It's a scare tactic. It's to stop you from going further.
Yes.
She's trying to scare you into doing it, because she's probably got more funds to take this further than you do.
She does have more money than I do. And she's not a rental
doesn't
property.
mean anything to her. Yeah.
Well, and
so that 11,000 to 100 won't mean nothing, but to you, it's a lot. Not only that, it's like how many times has she done this to other people, and she's just going to keep going? And
that's the other part.
Yeah.
She's done what she did is she, in her letter to me, which was vindictive and it makes my case, because it's horrible. She tried to say my 1-bedroom apartment, which I've got pictures and it looks good. My 1-bedroom apartment took her an extra 86 hours to clean. I mean, seriously ridiculous stuff. Like 800 square feet. There's no way for anyone. And I took pictures before I left, and it was acceptable. It would have gotten my deposit box anywhere else. It wasn't as clean. And I'm paying people to clean for me, because I couldn't do most of it. And then I had my partner and his family go in, and those 4 people spent 2 more hours and did everything. So they went back, and she's screaming at me. I'm having an emotional, I disassociated. I'm bawling in a car for those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which I've never done. And they went in, did everything she said to do. And she then still sent me this letter about all the things that I had not done. And she has done this to other people. And in that letter, she would try to get me to pay an extra $2,700. Now, I called her on that. And of course, I'm not paying it. And I replied with a letter that said, this is the statute. This is the law in Minnesota to do this, this, and this. And it was very professional. I didn't do anything that I would regret. But I feel like, it's going to be work. It means I've got to take all the pictures on my phone and figure out how to get them into something that's presentable to give to a judge. And it means taking, some of the stuff. If I need to go to get text messages, I've got to take screenshots of all that and do all of that. It's a lot of work. And so I procrastinated on it. But then there's this other part of me that goes, if I don't do this, I'm letting I'm letting her walk all over me.
Yeah.
She walked all over me, and I was terrified of her. I didn't realize how much fear I lived in, never knowing when somebody was going to knock on my door, because she lived in the building. She lived beneath me. You know, is she going to knock on my door and complain about something?
I think you should make that part of your case, because a landlord does not have a right to do that.
Yeah, it'll show.
It'll both having landlord problems.
And if you document that that's part of her character to infringe upon your rights, I think that would add to your case. I agree with Carol.
And I'm not sure how much the judge is going to care based on, I mean, but she has.
We have a law here. We have a law against retaliation by. It's called the Retaliatory Act. Because I rang our RTO yesterday, because I'm also having landlord problems. It's my sister. And so I rang them yesterday. And if the landlord's being retaliatory, there are laws that stop them from doing that. Like, so if I was to take her to court, her texts and the timing would mean that it proves that she's retaliatory. But that's only if I want to stay there or get money back or something like that. But I don't need to do that. But in your case, I would... How are you going to feel in the future if you don't do this? Like, if you don't take it further?
And that's the part that I've been procrastinating, because I don't really want to do it. But that's the part that I feel kind of like I have to. And I don't know if maybe I need, maybe what I need to do is I need to ask Sarah, for example, to come over and just help me fill out the form. Maybe what I have to do is I have to ask for someone to sit with me doing some of this stuff, or physically do it for me.
Also, can the people that did that last bit of cleaning for you that she required, can one of them or both of them be there with you as a witness?
Brian would rather not. This traumatized him, because he's an empath. And he did this very, put up the mask like he would do, but it destroyed him. Her chewing him out, it destroyed him. So I'm not going to ask him to do it. However, his wife Trudy would do it. Hands down would do it. I already asked, and she volunteered. She said, "Yep, I'll do it."
Okay.
And I could call in my friend Sarah. There was a guy, he's a friend of a friend, but he's a college student. So he's the one that I paid to do a whole bunch of packing for me and a lot of the cleaning, not all of it, but a bunch of the cleaning. And I mean, I potentially could call them in and ask them to be witnesses. I don't know how that works. I don't know.
Can you do a stat deck? Can they do a stat, like where they write something that they sign that it's true, and if they lie about it,
it's like, if something notarized, maybe. That's a good point, maybe.
Because if you can just get that, and get them to write out what they did and get it signed and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like that might be enough, instead of having to get people to present to court. Because that there's a limiting factor in people actually wanting to help is them, because it's work for them too, And also it's quite daunting having to stand up in a court, even if it's not for you. And small claims is no fun either. Like, anyone who does that sort of thing for fun has got something else going on. Right? But I just feel like I'm in a similar situation with me wanting to take my ex to court. I'm procrastinating because it's going to be hard work. It's going to be super hard work. I've got all the evidence, but I have to get it all into an order, and and it's daunting. But I have a body double. My carer helps me with that. I have to take it in small doses, but for me, I just feel like I'm the same. If I don't want to, because it's too much, and your landlord sounds like a terrible person, and
she's
those
very
people,
self-absorbed with narcissistic tendencies. So she's lost friends. I was there 11 years. I've seen her do this to other people. I never stood up to her because I knew what I would get. So I didn't start to.
And she's also your landlord.
Yeah, the whole power position.
The power,
exactly. And that's what I'm going through with my sister right now. And I said to her, I'm terrified that actually I said it to Jane. I said, this is going to get me kicked out, because I know how mad my sister gets and I know what happens. And I got an email from the real estate yesterday saying that I have an unauthorized tenant and that, that I've got in breaches, and they've spoken to my sister and they want me to fix it ASAP. And and she's doing exactly what I was afraid of. So if she wants to act like a landlord, I'll act like a tenant. I know my rights. So I know my rights better than she knows the rights, but I don't want to do this. She's my sister. So it's like that whole, thing again. But I don't know what happens to people when they become landlords. Do they just decide that the lord part is important?
Right.
My therapist and I have talked about this a lot. And one of the things we even talked about, neither one of us would become a landlord just because we don't want to deal with all of that stuff. I don't want to have to do it.
I have a question, Rebecca. I want you to go with me on a minute. So I want you to take the emotion out of this, okay? Like put the money, the landlord, she's not your landlord anymore. She's just a person, okay? And you don't have to answer this to me necessarily. I just want you. Lord. Yeah, I just want you to think on this. What's really stopping you from doing this? Like in your mind, are you afraid of the outcome? Are you afraid of the time it's going to take? And are you afraid of advocating for yourself? Are you afraid of standing up for yourself?
Yeah.
And
that's
somebody,
a lot of it.
And that's okay. And somebody, traumatized your friend, and you said you've let people do this all along. So could this be that this is your time to rise up and put on your warrior suit and grab your sword and go into battle and fight for yourself and your friends and what you have never fought for in your whole life, and like the rest be damned? Like, okay, so it takes you 20 hours. Is that 20 hours worth it for you to stand up and say, I fought this? Is this $1,100? You know what I'm saying? Like, try looking at it. I mean, there's very much a part of me that is like, okay, legally do this and this and this. But I think maybe I feel like where you're coming from might be more your emotional, your negative emotional, your unhealthy emotional side is getting in your way. What does that healthy emotional side? Because we all have to fight at various times, and it's very scary to stand up and fight because, we don't know. But could this be the thing that frees you up to heal those past things and to help you say, okay, you know what? These people did this to me in my past. I can't go after them, but you know what? Piss off. I can do something about this, and I'm going to. And maybe does it even matter if you win or lose? Just the fact that you put on your armor and you stood up and you took that hill, like, because sometimes that's what it is. You have to just put on your armor and take the hill. And it's not about winning or losing. And you know what my uncle told me? I got some wise dudes in my family. My uncle said, the person that's right 9 times out of 10 will win the fight. Like if it comes down to a fist fight and somebody is fighting for justice and is right, and then the other person's just being a jerk, the person that is fighting for the justice and the right is going to win. Now, if you've got me fighting a Golden Glove boxer, I'm not going to win. But that's not the case for you. Like maybe this is the chance that universe is saying to you, Rebecca, here's your opportunity. All of that crap that people did to you in the past, all of the times you were scared, all of the times you felt you weren't worthy enough, you didn't deserve it, you were fearful, you hid, you made yourself small, you didn't trust yourself, you didn't trust us, whether that's God, the universe, Buddha, Allah, however that looks for anybody out there, your higher power. Look, we're going to give you this. So, and I just want you to maybe look at it a little bit differently instead of, oh, it's going to take me this, or I don't know how to do that. You probably have people around you who could help you do that or walk you through how to do that. But I want to encourage you to, not be in the unhealthy emotions. I think you need to be in the emotions in this. This is one of the very rare times I'm going to be like, get out. I'm not going to tell you to get into your wise mind, but look at the healthy side of the emotion. What does Rebecca win? Take the money out of it. What do you win when you stand up for yourself? What do you win when you say, you don't get to do this anymore, bugger off?
Yeah.
What do you win? Like, is this the start to you being able to, go out a little bit more? Like, I know that you kind of isolate. Is this going to be, now I'm not talking, you're going to go close down the Walmart there, but, is this the start of you being able to do that? And I want you to really, really think on that, because we all have times in our lives, and they all look very different, where we have to put on our armor and we have to grab our sword and we just take the hill. And you know what? You just keep your eyes down and you fight what's in front of you. And when you're on the other side of it and you're standing in front of Valhalla and you turn around and you look, then you see what you really did.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to think of.
There's some great comments in here for you too, Rebecca. Rick Spicer says it takes you 20 hours divided by $1,100. She's paying you $55 an hour to fight her. Good money, your money. Nancy says, sorry you're going through this, Rebecca. Tony B says she is mentally holding you hostage. Having an advocate to help you would be good. Ellie J says, I used to do expert witness nursing work in the UK. I'm willing to help as much as possible. Notarized letters help. Not sure if you have any support organizations that can help you. K1 said, that's how it goes. Everyone knows what the outcome will be, so they avoid confronting the person. She needs to be confronted in court. Yeah, take the money out of it. She needs to be confronted. And a court of law is a place to do that.
I've watched enough Judge Judy to say that Judge Judy would be on your side.
Well, and I've looked enough in the law that I would be fine. So even if it wasn't, I wouldn't have won prior to my partner and his family going in. I would win now. They left it spotless. And I can't say I know exactly what state everything was in, because I didn't do most of it. So there's a portion of me that is also coming at it from that, because normally what I would do versus. But
you've already said the person who did it's willing to go to court with you.
Yeah, I think it's very safe to say that my friend Sarah, who was helping me, her and her mom helped me a lot to get moved out. And they're the ones that were like, you've done enough. You've done enough. We're not doing any more cleaning in here. We're not doing all this stuff that she wanted done. And you've done enough.
What they do, it's not what they're doing is they're doing everything to get to the point where you're so sick of having to do anything and just like, I'm not going to do anymore. Just keep it. So there's nothing wrong with the place. They're finding faults. And that's what landlords do. They do it here too. It's very hard to get your bond back here, like fully, unless you got a decent landlord and you know your rights. I know my rights. So it's like, but what they'll do is they'll just keep going down the line until they find something that you might agree with. Like, fine, I didn't do that one little section on the stove grill thingy, It's ridiculous. They try their best not to give you the money back because it's like it's $1,100 free money.
Well, in every other place I've ever been that was a management company, I got my deposit back without any problems. It's never been withheld. And for her, the actual deposit was $525. The penalty, though, for not returning it in 21 days, if I'm one, is a whole nother one of your same deposit, plus all the interest that accrues. And they can also do the judge may give you an extra $500 penalty to the landlord. that I can't guarantee will come. So the most I will get is like $1,600 if he or she chooses to do that. So I'm not considering that that's even an option, but the rest of it is a good $1,100 if they penalize her. And she's got property because she's got a fourplex. I could put a lien on her fourplex. It's not like she's poor. And I saw her, this is back probably December. I saw her at the pharmacy because I was waiting for a prescription, and I saw her and I missed. I'm wearing a mask. And I don't think she was. But I was just continued walking, and I saw her, and it didn't register for a second. So it didn't completely register until I'd walked past, but then it registered exactly who it was. She avoided me like the plague. I was actually at the pharmacy counter right next to her. I knew she was there. I said nothing to her. She hightailed her ass out of there actually, because I was not that far behind. She hightailed her ass out of there. So it's like she doesn't want to run into me. And frankly, I don't want to run into her. But I do feel like she shouldn't win, and she's done this to other people in the building.
You know, and even if she wins in court, she's lost something because, you know, you have confronted her.
Yeah.
And there are witnesses.
Yes.
I have a question. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm done.
Rebecca, what would be your best case outcome if you could have this turn out any way that you wanted?
I suppose best case outcome would be they would give me everything the law allows. So I would get the penalty for not returning it in 21 days, and I would get the penalty that the judge can assign in addition. And because her letter that she wrote, it's 7 or 8 pages. The letter that she wrote why I didn't qualify for getting my deposit back was 7 or 8 pages, very detailed. With the extra, you owe me $2,700. And if you don't do this, I'm going to take you to court for everything. This is how much I've accrued so far. She was going to turn my apartment into an Airbnb. I know from a friend, she didn't turn my apartment into that. I think it's because she realized how loud other people would normally be. I was fairly quiet. I didn't walk around in shoes, you know, the kind of things. So she moved, she did it for a different apartment, one of the other apartments in the building. But yeah,
so
the best
even
case scenario, she'd have to pay me, and she'd give me I would get a check that doesn't bounce.
Yeah.
So it sounds like part of this is, like you were saying in the beginning, getting the paperwork done. Perhaps, and this ties into what Carol was saying in the beginning, like, so we want to change some type of problem behavior. In this case, it sounds like, you know, procrastination is something which I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with procrastination, but if that's something that you want to tackle and conquer, like you proposed a solution, which was have somebody sit with you and while you do it, or have somebody do it for you. And I can offer that. I can offer to sit with you while you do it. I don't know that I'd be able to do it for you. I'm not a lawyer, or I don't know anything about legal, but what I can do is support you in completing the stuff. We could hang out on Discord or on FaceTime, or I'm happy to support you in that. So from my perspective, it sounds like you know exactly what needs to be done. It sounds like your case is super strong, and like your best case outcome is very likely to happen if you go through the steps.
And based on, my therapist has a friend that did the same thing. They left the place trashed. They didn't clean it. And the landlord had pictures of all the stuff that they had done. And the tenants still won part of their deposit back.
Okay.
So even worse, I mean, so it would appear that Minnesota law does tend to lean toward for the tenant based on that.
Well, can I just share too, Rebecca, like, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just, it sounds like let me start over. What it sounds like you want is justice. You just want justice. And justice is not just based on a dollar amount. Let's say that you go in and you lose the whole damn thing. Okay, we know you're not going to do that. Let's say you do. Did you really lose? Did you really lose because you stood up to a bully? Did you really lose because you advocated for yourself? Did you really lose because you went in? Now, I don't think you're going to lose, but you're driven by justice. And that's exactly why you go to court. That's exactly why you stand up and say, you can't do this, and like I said, normally I would be like, all right, Rebecca, let's get into your wise mind and let's take a look at it. No, right now, piss on the wise mind. Like, get into your healthy emotional mind, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, you know what? Find a song that I will tell you, the song that motivates me the most is it's a song by Shinedown, and it's called Diamond Eyes. And the other part of it is like like Boom Lay Boom or something like that. Man, I tell you what, when I am feeling like I need to take a hill, I put that on, because it doesn't matter if I win, it doesn't matter if I lose. If my heart is in the right place, if I am doing it for the right reasons, even if I lose, I don't lose.
Yeah.
I don't lose.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I understand what you're saying about all the legal stuff and the money, and and it's, in all honesty, I mean, you did what you needed to do. I don't think it even matters that you weren't there. You have pictures of the apartment to prove how it was left in. If it were me, if you wanted to make sure you had all your ducks in a row, man, I would find me some Judge Judy. I would start watching that. I would see what she asks for, what she wants, what she says. I would be writing that down. But, if you've got sworn statements from people that weren't able to be there, but they testified to what they did. You have pictures of what you did. You have the letter. You've filled out the paperwork. You've done your things. I mean, you're looking for justice. So please don't cheat yourself out of justice. Like, this is a chance for you to get justice for everything. Now, I'm going to support you if you decide, you know what, I don't want to do it. I'm here with you. I'm for you. You know what? I'm Team Rebecca. I don't care. Like, I'm here behind you. But I tell you what, if you need somebody in the wings, to put their armor on and just stand there with you as you fight and take the hill, wouldn't be the first time I put my armor on. Wouldn't be the last time I'm putting it on. So I can stand there and walk behind you, but it sounds to me like what's very important to you right now is justice. And
if it had been just part of my deposit, or if it had been my deposit, but she didn't try to get more, I think I would have been more inclined to walk away. It's that she threatened me to take me to court for $2,700 plus dollars. And that's part. So it was the letter she wrote was very obviously vindictive, and to take the time to write an 8-page letter with graph kind of thing in there of the time she spent on things, and I had an infestation in my kitchen apparently as well. She had to get a few. No, there's no way in hell. I have a problem with bugs in my home. And a large spider got in the day that we were moving because there was a gap between the screen door. It was a huge spider. I'm arachnophobic. I did kill it, but the picture that she sent of the spider, as that there was stuff in there, was the one that I'd sent her of the picture of that spider.
Oh, yes. So you have a copy of that picture. Yeah.
You have a timestamp on that too.
Yeah.
A date stamp. So, it's just, you got to wonder. I did want to say, because I'm going to have to go soon, I do have a good outcome with my sister. One, I am still going to move. And two, we have decided that both of us are not in a healthy space at the moment. We're in a little bit, both of us in downward spirals. And so we're not mixing. Our spirals are going different ways. And so we're just going to deal with that and reconvene another time. And anything I have to do with the house is I'll go through the real estate. But, so I've got my sister back. But you know, that landlord, she can go fuck herself. As far as I'm concerned. So, but you know, but it's good. We both have utilized our self-awareness and our awareness of our own selves to realize that we're both at fault, because I've been like, I always told that it's me. I'm always at fault. And I was told that I had to grovel to get back in her good books, and I'm not groveling to no one no more. I'm just like, yeah. So, but and not only that, I still don't know why she's so upset, and she won't talk about it. She's doing that. You should know. And I'm like, well, I know what I said, but I don't know why you're upset about it. Right. That whole figure it out yourself, come back when you figured it out. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I've had that so much. Like, you should know what you've done wrong. Well, if I did, I would know.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I would happily come down and fight for you. I could come down as in go to Australia and fight for you. But to fight for myself is so hard, because I'd be like, oh, let me at him.
Yeah, it's because it's when you haven't really had anyone fight for you, it's hard to fight for yourself, And when you were saying that earlier, I mean, I had my sister come at me telling me that I was bipolar. My brother, he got a text from my sister saying that what was it? That I need an intervention. And I told Mel, and she's like, what for? And I'm like, I don't know. What can you have, like, having a bit of a moment intervention? I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, and then my mother, she's like, leave your sister alone. You're making her anxiety worse. I'm like, her anxiety? Hello. You have two daughters here, mother. So I wrote out this huge, big, long thing. Like, I was going to tell her that my side of the story. And I'm like, you know what? She's not going to listen anyway. So I deleted it and just told her, mind your own business. But she's gonna be, ooh, you are my business. I'd be like, no, we're not. So because we always sort it out ourselves, because my siblings and I are like that. But it was so wild to me that this happened in the first place. It was never meant to end like this, But my own mother won't even support me. She won't fight for me, So it was, I was just like, okay, that's how it is. I've got a family now. I've made a family, and the ones who keep deciding, the ones that are there by birth, if they keep deciding to choose others, then I'll choose others too. And that's how it is. But and by choosing others, I'm choosing myself, because if I have to keep fighting to keep these people in my life, what's the point? In the end, I'm fighting to keep people who don't really want to be there, or they would, It's like, I watched that movie the other day. He's just not that into you. And it's kind of like the same with family, If you don't get a phone call, or you're always the one calling first and all that sort of stuff, who's putting in the effort type thing. So, and it was me. It was always me. So, but as far as the fighting thing for yourself, I'm exactly the same. I'm the one people call in when they want someone to be a little bit passive aggressive and all that sort of stuff on the phone, because I get stuff done. But if I have to call for myself, I'm like an anxious mess, and I have to write this whole little script, and so it's so different.
It's really interesting to hear this discussion. It triggered some deep thought in me. It's like, why are we more comfortable advocating for other people than advocating for ourselves? And I have to wonder if the peer support aspect of things has something to do with that. When we advocate for other people, we're in effect connecting with them. We're building a relationship with them. Whereas when we're advocating for ourselves, it's like, for ourselves, there's no connection with another person there. I mean, it's important to have self-love and connect with ourselves, but there's something really special. And I think some like drive, a motivation can come out of connecting with people. That's why we get together here. That's why we go to meetings and have friends and stuff. It's motivating to connect with people. So I think going back to what you were saying, Rebecca, about having somebody sit with you and do it with you, I feel like that would be a really healthy, productive way for you to get the motivation and drive, because you're dealing with like recovery from long COVID also. So like some sort of external factor that would increase your drive and motivation, connection with another human being. I think your idea is fantastic to have someone sit with you while you do it, or you said also to have someone else.
It's also validating. It's validating to have someone there with you that's, as you're going through the paperwork or whatever you need to do, that's who, as you're telling the story or whatever, is like, yeah, you know, you're right. Or that part, maybe, you know, but it's validating to have someone there who can help you, because otherwise you'll be sitting there doing yourself, doubting everything, saying, is this bad enough? You know, because that's what I do. Like, I'm like, I'm not quite sure if this is something that's worth putting down, because it's, do I just think it's bad? But if I've got someone else there to bounce it off, generally I'll end up putting down more, because lots more has happened that I've just let slide because I don't think it's all that bad. You know what I mean? Like, where other people wouldn't let that happen.
Well,
So,
and I wanted, if I'm going to do something, I need to do it while everything's still fresh in people's minds. And right after that move, so this all happened at the last week in August of last year. And I called my therapist for an emergency session. I was a basket case. And I was a basket case for a couple of months afterward. But I'm much more, I guess, more detached than I was before.
Right on.
Can you sue for emotional distress in civil court? Can you ask for emotional distress? No. Darn. Well,
yeah.
That's the part where the judge can afford an extra $500.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask for that. Because I got to the part, I started filling out the paperwork for small claims. And I got to the part where you had to detail everything. And at that part, I've already been on it for an hour, and I couldn't do anymore. So I stopped. But that form is online and it's saved. And so assuming that it doesn't time out after a certain period, I could go back in and oops, that's my partner probably having just dropped off. People at the airport.
There's another thing you could do as well. You can bill for your time. Your time is valuable, and the amount of time that you've spent on doing getting ready to go. The amount of time that you spend on doing it, preparing your case, you should bill for that time, because how much do you what's your hours worth? You can
legally can't. Yeah,
we can here. Yeah.
If it's for here, they don't even you can't even get a lawyer, because my chosen mom had offered to pay for a lawyer to write a letter. And
I don't think we can here either, but we can still do the time thing.
Because I remember calling, and I checked with a bunch of the different legal options, kind of like legal, I don't know, it was legal aid or a couple of different things. I had checked with a couple, and so there was really no other option other than taking her to small claims court.
Okay.
Or conciliation.
Yeah, we'll see. We can add the bill to whatever the small claim is of what you're claiming back. But that's, different laws, I guess, in Australia. But it happened here to someone did it he was a lawyer and he went to small claim. He was taken to small claims court for nothing. And so he billed for the time that it cost him. Maybe because he was a lawyer, it might have been a bit more effective. He had the ability to fight for it. But I don't think we're allowed lawyers in small claim court here either, to be honest.
You're not. Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's 5. I better go.
I didn't get to read all the comments for you, so I recommend you go back and watch it to see what other people have been commenting. I've been putting them up on the screen, but I'd love for you to see them.
Okay, that would be and actually my partner is probably downstairs in the parking lot. That's probably why I got the call.
All right. Guys. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
You got this.
Yeah.
I have faith.
Thank you.
I want her to fight so bad.
I know.
I understand why she wouldn't want to. I do. I get it.
Yeah,
I want it for her.
It's such an effort.
Go ahead, Cosmic.
I was just going to say, there's 2 ways you can look at it. If you fight, then there's all that struggle you've got to get through to see whether or not you're going to win. And if you don't fight, then it's over now. But then you have to think about, if I don't fight, it'll always be in the back of my mind. You know, I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm going to, because and you know what, I'm not doing it for anybody else. That whole I don't want them to hurt anybody else thing is very admirable, and I'm pleased that if that's going to be the effect. But I have to do this for me, because no one else does it for me. Well, that's not true, but my friend Mel fights for me. But like in general, no one's fought for me. I've had to be the one who's doing it, and in the end, because it's a lot of struggle, I let a lot go because it's too much to fight for. It's like I pick my battles, and I've picked the wrong battles. So, but yeah, I would fight too, because it's something that I don't know, landlords, man.
I want her to fight because I want her to feel that victory of standing up for herself and saying no more, like having that personal win, because it does feel good when you do that. And you know what, hey, I don't know how far away I am from Minnesota, but I could load up on cheese and just stand outside on the court steps and chuck it at people. I don't care. I'll just tell my husband, you got to make sure you got bail money. I might go to jail for throwing cheese at people. make sure it's there.
Assault with dairy. You're just lactose intolerant. Take it.
Be like, yes, I
am. I think there's also a level of sending a signal out to the universe or whatever you want to call the ether that when we do stand up for ourselves. I wish I would have told this story earlier, but there were so many good things being said, so many good comments. I had a situation where I was exploited for labor, and the person who owed me, that's why I went to the safe house, the person who owed me money just stopped responding to my requests, my invoices. They just stopped paying me, and for 2 years, there was no communication, and there's a statute of limitation. So I had to make a move or forego all the money that he owed me. And I decided to collect, and I got all my ducks in a row, like we've been talking about here. I put together a summary of how much he owed and what the money was for, and all the contract that he signed and all the documentation that I had. Put it together with a pretty little bow, connected with him via text message. I decided, my therapist said not to. My therapist said just sue him. But I decided to give him a courtesy text because it had been a couple years, and he couldn't remember what he owed me money for, but wanted a summary, which I already had put together. So I sent that over to him, and he ended up paying me. He set up automatic payments the same day, because he knew that I would take him to court. I think that was his thought process is, oh, I'm going to be in the newspaper. He's a practicing physician. Like, he would have been in the newspaper all over the place for a month. So I think for me personally, like, it was less about the money and more about the principle. And I think that now that I've taken the steps to stand up for myself and been successful in it, I think I carry myself a little bit more different, and I have confidence, and I don't want to put up with any crap, and I kind of know what to look for, and I get half of the payment up front now when I do contract work, or the full thing up front. So anyways, I just wanted to share, I wish that Rebecca was still here. Hopefully she rewatches this and sees, because I did want to share my experience, not with a landlord, but with injustice and being owed a large amount of money. So I made it through it, and I feel like I'm a better person for it, actually. Now I wouldn't change anything.
Right. Well, there's something so empowering when you stand up for yourself, I mean,
and there's also something very validating, that's my word of the day, about having someone official recognize it. So someone like a judge or you know, all that sort of stuff, or even the other person.
Yeah,
just
in my
recognizing
case,
that they've done wrong. Yeah,
totally. Just
You know,
just
so-
that person being like, okay, I'm good. I better pay this person. Like, you're worth it. It makes me feel valuable again. I did feel my power come back into my body, because for those 2 years I felt completely out of control, completely powerless. It was horrible, but I'm back. I'm back.
I love it.
And I think that's kind of what I need. I need official recognition out of what I gone through, because otherwise it doesn't feel like it happened because it didn't.
Yeah.
You know, because Pixel didn't happen, so you know it's kind of like that for me. But it's like but that's how it feels. You know, if someone in power doesn't recognize it, or if he's not made to by someone else, someone official above him, because he thinks he's above everybody. Someone says you've done the wrong thing. You know, he'll still be like, no, I didn't. But everyone else will be like, yeah, he did. You know, so, and that's what's going to matter to me. I don't really care if he recognizes that he's done the wrong thing, because I know him enough to know that a narcissist, doesn't matter what they can apologize to the ends of the earth, and it's just words. So but if I had the official people, like everybody around, saying yes, it did happen, and I can say to people because I keep getting told that I'm a liar constantly, and all those people who say that I'm a liar, I can give them official documentation that I'm telling the damn truth, you know? And because that's a big thing for me, you know, being called a liar is probably, that hurts more than any swear word or anything that I could ever get called, is being called a liar, especially considering I try so hard to tell the truth as I know it at the time. Sure. And I was actually trying to figure this out yesterday with Mel. I was like, you know, when you lie, don't you remember that you've lied? Because you have to remember the lie to go on to keep telling the lie, to continue it on. So I find it really difficult for people to say you've lied. You know when you lied, and I don't, because I didn't, sort of thing. So, but I was just wondering if that's sort of the same. If people have ever thought about that, like how can you lie and not remember the lie, because you have to remember the lie as a liar, wouldn't you? I don't know.
So
some liars don't. Some liars it's off the cuff, and it's forgotten as soon as it comes out.
And some people,
it's a compulsive thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm also sorry. Some people, if they're compulsive liars and they do it long enough, or even if they're not, even if it's just one lie and they tell it over and over and over again, they'll eventually start to believe it. People's memories.
But see, they're remembering the lie then still. So
but,
they still.
But they don't think it's a lie. They like genuinely.
No, they believe it.
And they don't even realize it. And it can happen over time too. Memories can change, even if it's not necessarily a lie. Like memories can be embedded. Like Ben could probably tell us all about this, because he's into hypnosis. He probably knows about memory embedding and all of that. But liars don't always know that they've lied. They believe it or not half the time, but sometimes.
I wanted to address a group of owls is called a parliament or a wisdom. So that's what a group of owls is called. I like a wisdom. Parliament sounds too I don't know, like political.
Black Dad's answer the question, a hoot.
Right. But I just wanted to add that. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying. We're a wisdom here.
That was just a random thought I had, because I've been called it so often, but I've never really thought about that. But yeah, my favorite thing for a bunch of animals is a murder of crows.
Yeah. I love that. That's my favorite. That's what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and two crows is attempted murder.
Something else, I feel like I'm slow to the draw today. I keep going back to what we were just saying like a few seconds ago, but something else that just came to mind was that liars, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
We were talking about liars believing the lie and things being embedded, memories changing over time. but how they did, how sometimes they don't even realize that they're lying.
Thank you. Yeah. So if liars sometimes will accuse, or just anybody will accuse somebody else of doing something that they're actually guilty of doing.
Yeah.
So the projection thing could be a component here as well.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
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 Yep.
Absolutely. Interesting. Well, anyway, I have to go. I'm going to netball this morning with Mia.
Okay.
So
Nice.
That's why I'm wearing the cat shirt. She likes cats. So
there you go. Nice. Well, have fun.
Yeah, have fun.
No, it won't be fun. There's kids there. They're going to scream. There's going to be a whole bunch of screaming girls. But it's for Mia. So, and it'll probably be the only time I get to go. So, but yeah. All right. I love you guys. And I'll see you.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Great meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, I feel like I have so much to say about the topic that you chose, but then I feel like the meeting took a life on of its own, and so I have a lot of things. But I'm like,
we can revisit it.
That's what I'm like. You probably could do a whole nother show on the topic that you mentioned in the beginning.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all up for revisiting topics.
Yeah. Yeah, because you never really, there's always something new that comes up. Or something to revisit that's worth revisiting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been nice to be on here with the two of you. I had volunteered. I'm going to go pick up my neighbor's groceries for her so that she doesn't have to leave because she is very busy around here. So I think it's about time for that. And I've got on a plaid shirt and cut off shorts, and I probably should put something else on before I head into town, I'm going to go and change. And it was good to see you both. And I will talk to you. What is today? Friday? I will talk to you guys on Monday. I will see you then. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I suppose that's my cue too, but you didn't ask the question. Have we had a meeting?
Have we had a meeting?
I want to know, is anybody like holding back anything?
Put a 2 in the chat if you still need a meeting, something you need to talk about, or a 3 if you feel like you've had a meeting, as in a heart, part of a heart, you're good. Seeing a lot of 3s here.
I don't want to hop off because I have so much to do now. I have so many tasks, but I'm the one procrastinating now. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get everything that I want to get done completed, but I'll do my best.
Right on.
Yeah, I kind of pushed a lot of things off because my test was yesterday, and so I've been ramping up to that and excusing myself out of things because I was
and rightfully so.
But it's over now, so I have no more excuses.
Yeah. That's amazing. So do you get some kind of certification now?
Yeah, I'm officially now a certified Medi-Cal peer support specialist. I was certified prior to this test as a peer support specialist, but now I have the word Medi-Cal in it, which means that I can bill insurance, Medi-Cal, California Medicaid. Yeah. And I've been thinking about it for a while, but I haven't started doing the research. I'm starting the process of doing research on how I can bill out of state. There's something called out-of-state reciprocity for peer support specialists, which means that someone in Minnesota, for example, if they recognize my certification, which I've been told California is one of the stronger certifications, so it's likely that it'll be recognized in other states, that I'll be able to work with somebody in Minnesota that's on state insurance, and they won't have to pay anything out of pocket.
That's amazing.
I know.
Wow.
I'm hoping that that everything works out. I'm in the process of becoming my own agency, and all I need is that certification number to move on to the next step. I've been stalled at that step because it's like I've filled out this application and need that certification number in order to move forward.
Right.
So fingers crossed that I get that soon.
Yeah. Yay. I'm so happy for you and so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so happy
Yeah.
it's over. Really,
Yeah, no, you are.
truly.
Yeah.
It's been a really emotional ride because I had to, this was
Oh,
my
man.
it was my third time. The third time's the
Yeah.
charm. The
Mhm.
first time I had technical difficulties with uploading the
Mhm.
photos. The second
Yeah.
time I got kicked out. My exam got revoked because my alarm went off and I turned it off. So it's been an emotional ride, but I didn't have
Yeah.
to pay anything out of
That's
pocket.
so
It was
yay.
yeah. So anyways, thank you, Carol, for giving us the space and the time to come together and talk about what's going on in our lives.
Right on.
And
Yeah.
everyone in the
Thank you for being
chat,
part of it.
thank you. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure. And everyone in the chat, lots of love. Carol, lots of love. And hopefully I will see you soon.
Oh, right on.
All right. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks. You guys, yay. I love this community. You guys are you amaze me every day. Thank you so much for being part of this and for being so supportive. It's just beautiful thing, a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's the weekend. So the next meeting will not be until Monday at 3:40 Central Time. And I hope to see you there. And until then, peace, y'all.